What's up, everybody? This is Eddie with Flex Machine Tools, and we're here to have a conversation about the newest, latest, greatest program regarding our Flex CNC machine, and it's called FlexCare. So to give us some of the insight on what this program entails and really the insides of it, we're here with our president and CEO, Nick, as well as our CFO, Alex. So let's get rolling right in. Nick, tell us, what is FlexCare? What's going on? What do we need to know?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're excited to talk about the program. We put a lot of time into the FlexCare program for our customers. So I'm excited to tell a little bit more about it. I know Alex has got a lot of insight to share, and it's a program that is really there to help our customers have more value with our machine tool.
I think in the end, the purpose of this program is to really understand what are the entry barriers for our customers. Sometimes it's difficult because our customers not all the time will have somebody experienced with that knowledge base that they can use to run a machine. To run a machine, either a CNC or any other type of machines. So we came up with this idea or this special program so we can eliminate that entry barrier. And it makes it accessible for anybody to use our machine. What better way than a program that they can easily access it and take ownership of that specific program to be able to produce parts, which is in the end what everybody wants.
Think about it, in the machining world, everything's changing constantly. And here we take for granted the fact that we have hundreds of years of experience if you collect all our guys' time together. So we know machining well. We know all the little tips and the trends and as things are developed. So it's easy for us. But for a lot of our customers, that's a huge barrier to entry. So with FlexCare, we're able to offer that service to them for practically no cost. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It makes the programming side, which is difficult, easy.
And we're also trying to make a little bit easier for our customers to be able to produce a part from the inception of the idea, which you use your CAD, to the CAM, which is essentially just creating your program to run the machine, all the way to fixturing, which in the end, that's what we want. We want the full flow of the solution to be complete, rather than just delivering a machine, set it up, and let you try it and make mistakes. We're trying to avoid that because in the end, mistakes are money. And yes, I mean, we have digital twins for sure, but they cannot tell you how to fixture a part. They won't tell you that you might need to change the fixturing because the clamping is affecting the part in a certain way, that the machining is not being produced properly. So that's the kind of stuff that we want to be able to provide to the customer so they don't have to do it.
Okay. So I mean, it sounds like kind of an all-encompassing experience for someone who's really either experienced in the world or relatively new. So with that, we've obviously got newer customers who are interested, and even current customers with all the machines that we have here in the U.S. Who's eligible for a program like this?
No, that's a good question. So when I'll tell you a quick story. Again, another reason why the program is going to be so effective, especially for our new customers. So when we first got into CNC machining, we bought a machine and it sat on the floor for like 6 months because we didn't know what we were doing yet. We didn't have a programmer, we didn't have machinists, we didn't know what fixturing to buy, what tools to buy, all that stuff that I guess should be assumed, I guess, when you buy a machine, but it's not. So we bought an asset and it sat for 6 or more months until we just slowly worked through and figured it out. So who's this available to? It's for our new customers. So, and when you buy a machine from us, it's free. It's included for the first year. We offer 16 hours per month of the FlexCare service where we do consulting and programming for the customer. So, and our existing customers can buy into the program. And again, for practically no cost. It's $1,000 a month, and you get access to our programmers, our machinists, for 16 hours per month.
Yeah, and if you think about it, in this day and age, it's important to have the proper system to be able to give this service to the customers. So for that reason, we made some changes to the machine to allow the machine to run in a way that it allows us to remote into the computer, to have a proper setup on your hardware, so you can look immediately at your technician online and remotely, and they can work with you. Especially on special applications or projects that are complicated, they can be right next to you, which makes it a lot more easier for a lot of our customers. that they know and they're confident they have a proper technician with a proper experience that they can allow us to run the parts without any problems and make more parts.
Yeah, not to mention Esprit, the cam, is provided on the machine for free as well.
Oh, wow.
So for the first year, the cam software, it's like Alex, it's actually on the controller too. So it's no cost. So the customer, when they buy a machine from us, they get immediate support to have the tooling source, to have the fixturing source. We'll write the programs for them to run their parts, and we provide the cam software on the controller that our guys will help them with. So it's really a great package. I mean, it makes it it's just a really nice package. It really
seems
is.
like a loaded program for what it's worth. A lot of different features and benefits to that specifically. But if I put on my shop owner hat, and you may be able to speak to this since you were in this environment, you had a machine, just sat. So how does this affect your bottom line as a shop owner?
That's great question. Yeah. So programmers, everybody knows it's hard to find good people right now. And so just hiring is difficult. So we can be an extension to your team in that regard. And just so that way I have to be less reliant on hiring a programmer to make sure my machine's running. Mm-hmm. So I can look to my operators on the floor to have the machine operating efficiently. So I don't have to necessarily have that expensive, experienced programmer to develop my programs. Mm-hmm. The customer can look to us to do that. So that can just provide a ton more ROI very quickly to the machine.
And if you think about it, especially right now that the economy is ramping up, it's difficult to be able to add more capacity in an instant. Let's say if you have you were bidding a couple of jobs last year, you were not able to get them, but now you got them, then it will be difficult for you to find somebody capable of running the machines like right away. And with this program, with FlexCare, what you're going to be able to do is remotely, instantly adding all that capacity to your system. So that way you can have somebody else that is less experienced running alongside with you to be able to produce all those parts that you have. And then you can discontinue whenever you want. So it's something that is almost like a plug and play service that you can easily add capacity to your production.
I mean, it definitely does sound very plug and play. And another question I think a lot of individuals who are watching this or seeing this, they're going to be curious about some of the investment levels, what's required of them if they're looking into a program like this.
Yeah, if I was going to just outsource the programming, which is possible. I mean, shops, golly, you'd pay. So if you got to figure, for us, like I said, the investment level for our customers, when you buy a machine and you partner with us on a machine, it's included for a year. Wow. So I think, and then after that, it's $1,000 a month after the first year if you want to continue. But golly, I'll bet you'd spend upward $250 an hour to outsource your programming, to have somebody else do it and deliver you a program to run on a machine. So, salary-wise, these guys, they're not cheap, especially to find the experience. You have to find somebody, you're $30, $35 an hour probably. So,
and then you know that you're going to have to train them, you're going to have to first find them, and then you're going to have all that gap of time that you're not going to be able to produce parts. In the end, that's costing you, that's affecting your ROI, which in the end, our machine, our price point, it's very affordable for a lot of shops and a lot of places. So I think starting from our price point of the machine, it's already giving you an ROI based on your production needs. Mm-hmm. It is also important to know that yes, you could potentially outsource some of these parts. Let's say if you have a peak in production, but that's going to cost you 2-3 times what you were supposed to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a program that you can just use when you can and when you have to, and then you can use all those resources that you have available to do something else. Let's say you want to create new parts, or you want to optimize your parts, then you don't necessarily just have to focus on programming. You can focus on everything else that is around using the machine and the machining and making your parts run faster. You can use all that time for those purposes.
Mm-hmm. No, it's solid. And I think somebody who would be considering a program like this are going to base it off a handful of things. What do we bring in regards to ROI? You covered that. We've even covered cost savings, like you had just mentioned. But one thing I'd like to dive into that a lot of individuals really consider as valuable is our time. So how does a program like FlexCare really highlight the savings of time above all things?
That's a loaded question. So obviously just from the time aspect, there's back to, we were talking about like the advancements with programming and tooling, how it's just ever changing and never stops.
Sure.
So when we analyze programs that customers are doing, making suggestions on tooling and the way to do programming, we're able, when we talk about time, it's machine time. We'll take a cycle time and cut it in half. Or we'll take a cycle time that they're running on another machine and show how you can optimize it on ours and run it faster. And that's where the real time savings is. When I can process a job faster by making an investment in tooling or just accepting that knowledge from our team. So, and that's FlexCare gives that experience and that knowledge to the customer so they can realize that time savings, especially on the machine. Because the machine is where the real money is. They're expensive, they need to be running. And when they're running, they need to be running efficiently. So, and that's what it's all about. And that's probably where the biggest time savings is. It's on the machine time. And that's probably when we're running programs, I mean, we're especially using these high-speed tools from SGS, Kyocera, Kennametal, Allied, it gets complicated, especially if you want to optimize it. And our team helps you do that.
And if you think about it, I mean, we're leveraging the expertise of all our technicians, machinists, and the programmers. And if we pick an analogy to it, let's say if you buy furniture in one of these stores that you have to assemble, right? It's the first time you assemble it, well, it will take you a few hours. But if I give you the same piece of furniture a couple of times, for you, it will be a lot easier. You will do it a lot faster. So imagine, in our case, that's us. We have done that. We have assembled it. And now we're giving you all that saving in time to you, just with this program. So it's just making it a lot more simpler, a lot more efficient, and obviously that is impacting dollars because the more parts that you can produce, obviously the more money you can make.
Sure. Well, there's obviously a lot of benefits there in a variety of assets or regards, if you will. So that being said, if let's say someone isn't crazy about FlexCare for whatever reason, what are some of the alternatives to FlexCare?
Well, I think in the end, you could potentially try to do it yourself. That's one. I think that's the obvious one. Your learning curve is going to be very steep, especially if you're not very familiar with G and M codes, with fixturing, with tooling. I mean, you cannot be an expert for everything. That's the biggest hurdle. I mean, you can become very good at programming, but then you have to learn about tooling. So it's not just one simple thing. It's just a combination of factors that it is always better to always put yourself in the shoulders of giants, right? So it is important to have that support that we can get. The other alternative will be potentially hire somebody to do that. That it takes time. You have to have it in your payroll. That's the second one. The third one, maybe try to find an outsourced service. That's also an option that is very expensive. So you have to look at what works for you. We have seen with our customers, that especially the ones that have FlexCare, it works really well. It's something that it doesn't cost them a lot. We know the machine perfectly. We know how it's going to behave. We can test it in-house before we even send out to the customer. That's something that somebody that it's outsourcing the work might not be able to do, and we can do it. So that's an added value that somebody else is not going to have.
Mm-hmm. And even the shops, a lot of shops have the expertise. They already have it. They have experienced machinists. They have programmers. The other way to look at the program, it's an extension of your team, because like you said, it's how do you find more of that? And we are that. We know the machine well. We know it like the back of our hand. So, and if you have our machine, what better way to make sure you're optimizing it? And so we can be an extension of your team. So even for existing shops that have the capabilities, which most of them do. And it's not that you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
I can buy a machine. I can get my own programmers, exactly like we did. Mm-hmm. It's just FlexCare allows you to do it, to get up and running faster, realize more optimization, and there's always things you can learn in the trade. So, and we can be an extension to help, and that goes both ways. Like we never stop learning as well. So, and we continue to carry that knowledge over, and we also are constantly gaining knowledge because we're working with these tooling manufacturers literally every single day. All the high-end manufacturers, we're always testing their tools on our machine, and we're finding new practices, even with the CAM. So, Esprit, right? That's something, there's constant updates being done. suggestions than we can push to customers. So I really look at it more like even for the shops that are doing it themselves, because they can. And they should. Ultimately, they should. They should be able to run efficiently without support. And so this is really just an extension of their team and a way to get them up and running faster. And those that want to continue to get better, well, hey, then the service is there for you.
No, it sounds like there's a lot of convenience, there's cost savings, there's time savings, and it's a lot to be able to offer not only our current customers, but any type of new customers as well. So as we kind of wrap things up, for anyone who's potentially on the fence of considering FlexCare, what are some final thoughts that they need to know to paint the best picture so they can make the most educated and informed decision?
Final thoughts. Yeah, hey, if you want to help optimize the shop, run more efficiently, which everybody does, then it's a great program. If you want to make more money, add more to the bottom line, then it's a great program. So do it. It's simple.
And for the people that is also a little bit hesitant about buying this machine because the learning curve is a little bit steep, I think that eases off some of those concerns. I think that type of customer, that's the customer who's going to get more value out of it, in our opinion. So there are different ways to see it. Obviously, there's ROI. It doesn't matter how you look at it. From the people that is just starting to do machining to the people that is very highly skilled in machining, they also have some value from our program.
Yeah, we want to be partners with them. With our customers, we want to be partners. And that's probably the best way to summarize the program.
No, it all sounds great. We covered a lot of amazing topics specifically with this program, and so I hope for everyone who gets to see this, we answered all of your questions. We thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Nick, for your insight as well. For any more questions you may have regarding any of our amazing products or FlexCare, check us out on flexmachinetools.com. But for now, you all stay awesome, stay flexing, and we'll see you next time.